Hi, this is Joy with Connected Realities. In our first facilitation workshop, we talked about the anatomy of a meeting. There are 5 parts to a meeting. Before is the planning and design stage. It takes nearly half of this circle. Beginning, during, and end account for the actual meeting time. After usually includes things like debriefing with the meeting host and typing up flip chart notes. In this video, we are going to zoom in and look at the anatomy of an agenda, which consists of the orange sections in this circle. It's what happens in the actual meeting, the beginning, during, and end. Generally, there are distinct pieces of an agenda. Startups are specific, predictable, and recurring tasks that happen at the beginning of most meetings. Startups include welcomes and introductions, creating or reviewing group agreements, articulating the desired outcomes and the agenda for the meeting, and role contracting. At the end, there are wrap-ups, which are also specific, predictable, and recurring. Wrap-ups include reviewing the group memory, which is any notes you've taken, written on flip charts, or typed into a document, maps you maybe have created, or other information you've generated during the course of a meeting. In wrap-ups, we get clear on next steps and action items, including who is going to do which tasks by when. The during phase is the heart of a meeting. It's where most of the work gets done. Within the during phase, there is a flow: opening, narrowing, and closing. Sometimes this flow happens all in one meeting. Sometimes it happens over a series of meetings. In the opening phase, we are sharing information and exploring ideas. We're trying to understand the issues at hand. When we narrow, we take all the information from the opening phase and we start to sift through it and make sense of it. Sometimes what we do in this phase is to explore alternatives and evaluate and prioritize ideas. In the closing phase, we are wrapping things up. We are choosing among alternatives or making decisions. You are bringing all of your work from the opening and narrowing phase to a conclusion. What you see here is a sample of a facilitator's agenda. When my colleagues and I facilitate meetings, we always have 2 versions of the agenda, one for us and one for the meeting participants. The facilitator's version is much more detailed. It's the roadmap we use to navigate through the meeting. It follows the model of beginning, during, and end. Let's zoom in on the column headings. In our roadmaps, the detailed facilitator's agendas, these are some of the categories we frequently incorporate. Time. When will this task happen, and/or how much time will this portion of the agenda take? Topic. What does the group need to cover in order to accomplish the desired outcome? Purpose. What are you trying to achieve in this part of the agenda? This item is something we use as a guide for ourselves, but generally do not include in the participant's agenda. Process. What tools are you going to use in this part of the agenda to help the group accomplish the desired outcomes? Lead. Who will take lead on this section? The facilitator? A subject matter expert? Maybe the convener or someone else. Finally, notes. This is where we remind ourselves of materials and logistical needs. When we do startups, we remind ourselves that the purpose is for participants to understand what we're doing, how we're doing it, and who's doing what. To accomplish this, we might use a round-robin process, as well as checking for understanding and agreement. In this agenda, Harry is going to take the lead, and our notes remind us that we're going to need flip charts, markers, handouts, printed agendas, and we need to make sure that people with sensory impairments are seated up front. In the during phase, we start to see the opening, narrowing, and closing flow. In this agenda, we open with a presentation and exploration of the issues. During the question and answer section, we will begin to narrow by developing a list of suggestions and then looking for agreement on those recommendations. We have noted the purpose for each section, as well as the tools we are planning to use to accomplish the desired outcomes. We've identified the lead and made notes about any materials or logistical things we need to keep in mind. Finally, at the end, we do wrap-ups. And as in every section, we identify the purpose, figure out what processes need to be used to get to the desired outcomes, identify who's going to lead this section, and make notes on any logistical or materials needs. To simplify things for participants, we would present them with an agenda that looks more like this. It identifies time, topic, process, and lead, but it leaves out purpose and notes, which are largely for the facilitator's benefit. Sometimes we give an even more simplified version of this agenda to participants that only includes time and topic. This is the anatomy of an agenda: beginning, during, and end, open, narrow, and close, and agenda details that include time, topic, purpose, process, lead, and notes. With these things in mind, you can use the downloadable tools in Real Connections Academy to begin to construct your own meeting agendas.